Today we've got a very special themed Ask an Advisor episode. It's all about how couples can manage their finances together. Bryce, you've been married for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I've been married for about 6 months. So good time to have this conversation, I guess.
I guess so. I guess it's never too
Could have been
late.
doing it a bit earlier, but yeah, never too late.
Never too late.
So if you're listening or if you're watching, grab your significant other, get them headphones in or in front of the computer and settle in as we unpack how couples can work together on their finances. And to help us go through it all, Glen Hare is in the studio with us. Glen, welcome back to Equity Mates.
Great to be here.
So Glen is founder of Fox and Hare and has been working with a large number of the Equity Mates community now over the last couple of years. You've been a big supporter of the show, and if you are listening to this and would like to chat to Glen and the team, head to equitymates.com/advice. There is still a wait list, but you are working through that, Glen, and I think there's just such demand for what you're doing with our audience. We do really appreciate it.
Well, let's start general. You mainly work with, I guess, wealth accumulators, people in their 20s, 30s, 40s who are still on that wealth building journey. And for people in that time period, for a lot of people, it's the time where they're coupling up as well. So I think
For better or worse.
Yes.
So you'd be seeing a lot of people who are seeing a financial advisor for the first time, but also really dealing with money as a couple for the first time.
Yeah.
So where do you start?
Great question. And the reality is one of the biggest financial decisions you will ever make is your life partner.
For better or worse?
For better or worse. And no doubt, you know, with the Equity Mates community that we've worked with, often when meeting with a couple, it's usually one in the relationship that is an avid listener of the podcast and the other that's potentially not that engaged. So where we start with every couple that we sit in front of is not necessarily the financial piece, but as a couple, what is it that the two of you are trying to achieve from a life perspective? Whether that be starting a family, getting married, you know, taking a 6-month sabbatical, buying your first property, whatever the case may be. All of those goals obviously have financial implications, but what we're looking at is what really excites the two of them from a life perspective and then lead from there.
So let's start with aligning financial goals, given that that's where you start with your couples. What practical steps can couples take to actually align their financial goals? Like, it's something that my advisor has suggested, you suggest. It's like, come to us with your goals, but like, how do you actually practically suggest putting that in place?
Break it down, because again, reflecting on our demographic, as Ren, you noted, most of our members are in their 20s, 30s, 40s. So for someone in their 30s, for me to sit in front of them and go, all right, well, tell me all your life goals. What do you want to do with the rest of your life? Really quite overwhelming. So what we would do from a practical perspective is really address the coming 12 months. What are the short-term pieces? What are some of the core goals that the two of you want to work towards over the coming 12 months? Then we look at the medium term, so typically the next kind of 3 to 5 years. And I guess I don't know if it's a trick or maybe a strategy that I use is I often anchor on an age. So if I'm sitting in front of a couple that's 30, for example, rather than saying, what do you want to do in the next 5 years? I'll say, well, what do you want to do by the time you turn 35? It just feels different. Or if you're sitting in front of someone that's 35, what do you want to do before you turn 40? And you can kind of see that light bulb moment go, shit, 40's 5 years ago, 5 years away. What do I want to do? And then we'll look at the longer term, 5 years plus. Huge catch-all bucket. Again, for our member base to think what they want to do for the latter 50 years of their life is quite challenging. We anchor on the financial goals. So, you know, a lot of the short-term goals from a practical perspective, they're saying, I want to get a cash flow strategy. I want to start investing or build on my investment portfolio. I want to review my super. I want to make sure my insurances are sorted. I want to look at tax minimization strategies. So what we have found is for the couples that we're sitting in front of, a lot of the short-term goals are very foundational. So we often refer to it almost like a financial audit. Like, let's just review everything. And then it's the medium and the longer term where the life goals start to come into play. I want to start a family, I want to buy a house, I want to start generating a passive income. And a lot of the conversation is, okay, well, what do we need to be doing in the short term as a household in order to drive towards those medium and longer term goals? So often when working with a couple for the first time, it's pretty front loaded. Short term's pretty heavy. The medium long term is like, I'm not sure. I just want more choice around what my options may look like.
I will say this about investing. Everything you do learn is cumulative. What I learned at 20 is useful.